Well, I'll tell you what, let's start with work, because I am interested to know what you're actually doing these days.
Yeah, sure. So, well, what I work in at the moment is I work in a technology consultancy company called Capgemini, and I've been there for about a year and a half. And before that, I worked in a renewable energy tech startup.
Oh, wow.
But on the side, and ever since I finished university, I've always been kind of committed to the Circular Economy Club. And that's what I guess yourself and Miss Pennington used to call her, saw on LinkedIn. So that was something that I was very passionate about, and I learned a lot about it during my master's. And when I went into work, it's still such a niche area, and there's a lot of exploration in that, but it's quite difficult to perhaps find a job specifically in that. So I just wanted to make sure that my interest and my motivation for that was still kept while I was working. So that's what I do kind of in my spare time.
Wow.
So yeah, I kind of have to juggle both, but
Sure.
I don't really mind because I quite enjoy it.
I mean, we'll come back to the Circular Economy Club, because I did watch the entire interview, and I must confess, I mean, it's still a foreign language to me. I don't fully understand what it is that we're talking about. But let's go back to the beginning. Do you prefer Patty or Patricia?
Patty is fine. I mean, I've always been called Patty, but at work they call me Patricia for some reason. So, but call me Patty.
When you were at BIS, I didn't know you, so you're going to have to tell me when you were there.
I moved to Vietnam when I was 7, in year 3, which I believe was 2001.
Wow.
And then I was there for 12 years and graduated from BIS. So I was there for about 12 years in total.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Pretty much my entire childhood and my upbringing is always attributed to Vietnam, basically.
Oh, how wonderful! And
yeah,
I'm not going to lie there, Patty. There was a little wry smile when you went back to those memories. So
yeah, well, I do miss it. I mean, it's such a different life when you're living in London and working in London, and I remember, all my parents and what my friends kind of parents used to work, and it was such a different lifestyle. So yeah, it's very missed.
I can imagine. Do you have any particular fond memories?
Oh, I mean, it was just so many years. So I think all of it, to be honest, but I don't know, it's just like the type of community that you had there. And I don't know, because I mean, the thing is, I always thought it was such a normal upbringing because that's all I knew. And then when I came to university, I realized actually that isn't a very typical lifestyle. So yeah, I don't know. I just enjoyed I've always had a really happy childhood and memories of living there. So I think all of it, to be honest.
Oh, how fantastic. So was it your first, had you ever lived abroad before? Or was that the first time?
Yeah, so, well, my dad actually worked at BIS.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so he's a teacher there in primary school.
Okay.
But before that, we lived in Korea, and then we were in Vietnam, in England before that. So yeah, I guess I had lived abroad before, but I mean, I moved away from England when I was 5. So for me, that is what I'm used to.
So the third culture kid and that sort of thing is all very familiar to you.
So
it wasn't too much of a shock then when you first landed in Vietnam and faced with BIS.
Actually, quite the contrary. It was a huge culture shock coming back to England.
Okay,
so
interesting.
The first year of university, I had a really hard time settling back into the way things are here. And because there's so many social rules and dynamics that are very different from Vietnam. So even like the queuing culture here really shocked me. And I was in Canterbury, which was quite, a small town. After 6 o'clock during winter, there was nobody on the streets. And I'm used to, Vietnam and like the hustle and bustle and always people around and noise. So there's a lot of things that shocked me. And even now I still I don't know, I quite like to go to like more diverse parts of London because it just feels a bit more at home. So
Sure. I can relate to that.
Yeah. So yeah, the shock from England to Vietnam was almost non-existent, but coming back, it was actually very tough. And I know that the same happened to a lot of my friends. So it's like the reverse culture.
Yeah, no, I completely hear what you're saying. I had a really interesting story from one of our alumni who said she'd never posted a letter before. Like that was completely foreign to her. So it's all the little things, really, isn't it? That you don't.
Yeah, or like getting post. It was actually so exciting because in Vietnam you'd never receive it.
Gosh, wow. So you went right through BIS. You did IGCSE and IB.
Yeah.
And do you still have sort of nightmares when you think about the IB, or is that all a distant memory now?
You know what? I couldn't be happier that I did IB, because after IB, university was so easy. I honestly, like, there were people in my course that had never, like, they were stressing about having 3 months to write 2 1,000-word essays, and I was like, that's so nice. Like, I don't know, I found it a lot easier, and I think because of IB, university is just a bit more of a breeze. And I noticed that with people that had done IB that were also at my university and people that hadn't. So, I mean, it's quite funny because I remember when it was like the last year, or like the half year before the exams, and thinking that the exams of IB were like what defined my life, and it was, you know, that was all that it mattered. And now I look back and maybe I stressed a little bit too much. But yeah, definitely I would recommend doing IB to anyone, really, because afterwards everything just seems a lot easier.
Yeah. Do you think the one question we keep being asked at the moment is, you know, how well does the IG prepare you for the IB? You know, you've talked about the IB to university being great preparation. What about the IG to the IB? Be honest.
You know what? I don't really remember.
It's all such a blur now.
I mean, for me, I would say when I went from year 9 to year 10, that's kind of when I started to really focus on my studies. And I just remember it because I remember that being like the pivotal moment, because one of the teachers were saying that the exam papers get sent to England to be marked. And I was like, oh, wow, like that's a big deal now.
That's interesting.
So that for me was like, I mean, I was never like bad in school or anything, but going from year 9 to year 10 is like when I thought, okay, I need to step it up a little bit more. So I think it was just that extra responsibility, and like, okay, IGCSE leads up to your IB leads up to university. So it's almost that chain, and that's almost where it started a bit for me.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't really remember too much about IGCSEs, to be honest. I mean, I always loved doing the coursework, and it's the same that went throughout IB and through universities, that I always found coursework much more interesting.
Me too.
And yeah, it's just you have a bit more flexibility, and you've got time to think about it for yourself. But I don't really know how to answer that question going all the way back to IGCSE.
You know what? I think you have. I think it's
okay.
You know, that real sort of trigger, pivotal moment that you talked about. I think probably the reoccurring theme that keeps coming back. It's that moment where you realise, okay, this is the first rung on the ladder, if you like. This is the first step on my path to where it is I want to get to. So perhaps that's a good segue then. So let's talk about where you're at now. And I think also that
flexibility of choosing. Did we choose subjects in IGCSE?
You do, yeah.
We did, yeah. Okay, so but the flexibility of being able to choose a little bit more of what you like and what you don't like, I thought was, I don't know, you always feel a bit like more empowered when you're younger and you get to choose your subject.
Absolutely. Do you think those choices have had any kind of bearing on where you've ended up now, or are they completely disjointed?
You know what, I do actually think that sometimes. I think definitely subjects that I found more interesting are related to what I'm doing now. So I always found geography like one of my favorite subjects, especially the human side of geography. But also the kind of upbringing that you get in Vietnam, I think has really shaped the way that I think about things and my interests. So I actually, a couple of like months back, read back on my UCAS letters, and exactly what I had written there is still what I want to do now. And a lot of it, I think, goes back to, so when we first moved to Vietnam, it was a country that was still being really heavily developed. And especially, I think, a couple of years back, it was when the embargo was lifted. So you were seeing a lot of like foreign direct investment and a lot of the private sector investing in Vietnam. And you could see, I mean, from the 12 years that I was there, you could see, like, there were two different countries, basically. And you could see how businesses influence a country's like development path, both like all, you know, economically, socially, and also environmentally. And I think that's where my interest of business as a development actor kind of came in. So how the private sector can help with development agendas while still, you know, being socially and economically and environmentally viable. And then I guess that's where the geography aspect of it goes in. I really enjoyed like the psychology side of it. So I think there was like a lot of influences there that have kind of pathed this way for me.
I mean, excuse the pun, but I do feel like we're coming full circle here, aren't we?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
we're starting
definitely.
to talk about what it is that you're really interested in.
Yeah.
So go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that when I was doing my undergraduate in international business, it wasn't so much the businessy side that I found super interesting. It was more the, you know, how that affects like the wider community and things like that, which is why I then went to pursue my master's, which was in globalization, business and development. So it was looking at globalization and theories of globalization and rising powers and a bit of like international relations, but always with the private sector point of view.
Wow. Okay.
So I think definitely full circle.
Where did you study?
So I did my undergraduate at the University of Kent, and then I did my master's at the Institute of Development Studies, which is like a global think tank at the University of Sussex.
Wow. Okay. Global think tank. So there's a common theme here: globalization,
oh, yeah.
internationalism.
Yeah.
So, all right then. I've been avoiding the subject, but try and describe to me the circular economy, what it is, why you're so interested in it.
Sure. So what it is, so I guess it's this idea. So I guess at the moment, our economy works in a very linear way. So we extract resources from the ground, we have logistics, we manufacture it, we sell it, turn it into a product, use it, and then it's just either left in landfill or, you know, in people's houses. So for example, I always use the concept of a mobile phone. So I'm sure you have a mobile phone.
I do.
And I'm sure do you have a mobile phone, an old mobile phone that's probably sitting in your drawer or somewhere? Yeah. And that basically is kind of the idea of like a linear economy where we are just using resources, using it for our own use, and then we're just kind of leaving it and it ends there. So the end of life is just either landfill or, in this case, like your drawer. But in a circular economy, it's getting the idea of, okay, how do we get, in this case, a mobile phone back into the economy? So that can be done through remanufacturing it, reusing it, redistributing it. And then the last kind of like loop, as they say, is recycling it. So once there is really nothing else that we can gain value from it, then it's when it's recycled. And I want to emphasize on that point because a lot of people think, oh, is it recycling? And it's like, that's like, you know, plan Z. Sorry, Zed. So the circular economy kind of looks at how do you design things that can be made to last.
Yep.
And then this is where I find it really interesting, like how do you make business models that are still profitable by using circular principles? So for example, let's say with washing machines, when people buy a washing machine, they don't necessarily want a washing machine. They want their clothes to be washed. So there's certain businesses that have tapped into this, and actually what they do is sell their washing machines as a service, as like leasing product. So you pay, I don't know, a monthly subscription, and they have the washing machine delivered to your house, or sometimes they partner with real estate companies, so it's already there, and you just pay the monthly fee. And when it's broken, they'll come and fix it, and then either fix it then and there or take it away. But then they're almost they're encouraged to keep it in the use longer because that's technically their asset.
Okay.
But so that's like one example, but there's tons of examples. You can also think of, there's one called Repack, and what that is when you get online deliveries and you've got like tons of plastic bags, what they want to do is cut out that plastic bag cycle and a single use, and then it's like a kind of material that is used up to 20 times, and then you just post it back and then it goes back to them. So it's kind of trying to get the most use out of products and materials and resources without, and kind of avoiding this concept of waste.
Okay. So in a very, very small way then, we've got a similar project going on at school, funnily enough. I don't know if Miss Bennington's told you about it, but
no.
Some of our parents came up with a way to recycle uniforms, because obviously uniforms, you outgrow them, perhaps they're not unclean or ruined or wholly in any way, but they need to be repurposed. So a group of our sort of more innovative parents took it upon themselves to start turning old uniforms into other products, and then reselling them back to the BIS community. So we've got things like little chickens that are filled with rice, which acts as great little toys for the kids, or pencil cases. More recently, I think some of the students have redesigned the old trousers, the beige trousers that you wore at secondary.
I remember that.
And they're now DT aprons and things like that. So from your description, I've got a much clearer understanding.
Of course. I mean, there's also, for example, if you look at it from like the design side of things, so there's a company that has created this like thread that, especially for like the use of uniforms, that if you have it at a certain heat, so I think if you can put it like in an oven or something, it deteriorates that thread, so then you can take the logo off,
right?
And then use that again for other things. So there's a lot of innovation going on, and it seems to be happening in a lot of different sectors, like even at a city level or with electronics. But what I find very interesting, I think this again goes back to like living in Vietnam, is that I remember people coming to our house to come and collect and buy the like Coca-Cola bottles and the beer bottles. So like you've got the informal sector. And I always thought that was quite like normal, or if something's broken, you go and get it repaired because it's quite affordable. Whereas in England, to get something repaired, it costs probably more than just going out and buying a new one. So it's very interesting also to see it from like different, I guess, development perspectives, but also how like governments can fit in. Because for example, in Sweden, what the government did was reduce the tax in repair shops. So then they don't have to charge as much, and actually the amount of people that are getting things repaired has like gone up really high. So
a little note for Boris Johnson there.
Yeah. This is recorded. I'm not going to say much.
Excellent choice. Okay, all right. So describe your role at the Circular Economy Club then, now that I have a greater understanding of it.
Yeah. So do you want me to maybe explain what it is? Or
your role, or the Circular Economy?
The Circular Economy Club.
Sure.
Then maybe it makes a bit more sense as to what I do there. So what it is that it's a large international network of circular economy professionals and organizations across the world. And what we aim to do is connect people together and solve global challenges to kind of create cities that diminish the concept of waste. So we've got 3 main programs. So one is our mentorship program, and that is where we have mentors on circular economy already as like profiles, and people can apply for free to get free mentorship. So going back a bit, the whole purpose of the circular economy is to kind of spread the word also, and so everything is mostly free. So all of the resources online too. Then we've got our organizers program. So this is on a cities, university and companies based. So this is a bit like, TED and TEDx, where you've got license holders. So people have the CEC license in cities or universities, and they then have the authority to hold events under the brand name and bring together the local community to talk about circular economy and get people interested. And I think at the moment we're visible in more than 240 cities across the world, in like 140 countries. So it's growing quite a lot. So that's really great. And then we've got also the global initiatives. So this is, for example, in 2018, we had our mapping week. So the idea was, okay, before we start trying to implement circular economy at the local level, let's actually see what is already being done. So what we did was, again, find people, or like organizers, as we call them, in cities across the world to hold a workshop. And they're given a toolkit where they then have all the slides and the material, and they have to basically fill in this grid to see, okay, what circular economy initiatives are already happening in their cities. And then this was sent back to the global team, and we made initiative grid, which had more than 3,000 initiatives worldwide. So it was just a good place for people to start to see, okay, there's more in these sectors, or there's more in these regions, or you know, if people just wanted to see what circular economy initiatives were happening in their cities, they could go into that. So that was actually, and I think that was really something that started to put us a bit more on the map. And then we also recently launched last year, 2019, the Circular Cities Week. So again, forms the same concept of having workshops across the world with organizers, where they brought in people from different backgrounds, so like academia and government and business and, you know, charities, and to map out the opportunities and next steps for circular economy within their cities. And this currently has been sent back to us, and we're creating a report to then be able to publish and send out to city level governments to actually give them a bit more of a push and advocacy to create roadmaps within the cities. And this will be an annual event, so then we can kind of keep monitoring it and tracking it. So that will be quite interesting. I think it's going to be launched in February. And then we've also just recently launched a certification. So it's for people that are professionals that want to learn more about the circular economy. They can do an online course. And that at the moment is the kind of only area that people have to pay for a fee. But the rest is all free. So it's just trying to create this community and spread the word, but also create impact, because at the end, a lot of people do talk about things, but it's not really applied into the real world. So that's what the Circular Economy Club is. Then my role, so I'm currently a member of the board, so I do lots of different things. So one of my responsibilities that I'm doing now is looking for partners for the Circular Cities Week. So we have a small team that are, you know, reaching out to organizations worldwide, trying to get sponsorship, trying to get partnerships, and just trying to establish that to get more visibility and more, more impact at the local level. I also am overlooking the external affairs team. So we have a lot of interest from, you know, talks or organizations that want to hear more about what Circular Economy Club does. So we have a group of people that kind of go out and represent Circular Economy Club to give talks, and it's all run on a volunteer basis. So we've got 22 core team that are all volunteers, and then, I mean, in the network itself, there's about 5,500. So, I mean, there's different ways as how you can be a member. You can just sign up and get newsletters, or you can actually become a mentor or an organizer. So, but it's really fascinating to see how it's progressed so much on a volunteer basis, because it's things that people are very passionate about. So it's great. And then I also have to do all of the compliance with HMRC. So, you know, sending all the documents and taxes and things like that.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, but then also really my main role really is to start off like the new projects and help them grow. And then once it's at a place where it's stable, then we'll look for someone to take over it. So for example, with the city organizers, I picked that up when there was about 10 people there, then helped it grow to about 150 or 170. Wow. And then it was time for me to get someone else to overlook that and then start the next projects. So I kind of have my fingers dipped in a lot of different areas, but I don't know. I just find it really fun.
It's clearly something you're extremely passionate about, which is fantastic. Yeah. Do you feel like there's been any projects that you've sort of overseen or seen things really make an impact? Because as you say, a lot of the talk, not as much action, if you like.
So what do you mean, just generally, or with Circular Economy Club?
With Circular Economy Club, have you seen anything really sort of have a beneficial impact?
Well, So it's a bit, I guess, difficult in a way to actually see it on the ground, because obviously I'm in London, but there's a London chapter which do host really, really good events. And I mean, rather than one example as a case study, what I see a lot in these events, and when I was doing helping shape up the city's program, is the amount of people that connect. So for example, from the ones in the UK, there were 2 people that connected, and actually now they work together to create workshops that go into companies. Then you also get people working in fashion, and it's those little connections and those little networks that you see people are very enthusiastic about and then take it a step further. In Chile, there was a lady that she actually was, so the Circular Economy Club in her city was asked to be part of the Circular Economy Roadmap for Chile in her city. So getting presence in local government conversations too, I think is really cool and very, very motivating, I guess, to keep doing it. So I think it's things like that. And I think hopefully with the Circular Cities Week, we can see that kind of have a push and have an impact on.
I think the project that you've just described is hopeful. Actually, that's the feeling I get when you talk about it. So, I mean, we're coming up to the end of our time, and I'm just conscious that we might get cut off. So, tell me, what's next for Patricia Noble?
Oh gosh, so I'm not really sure how to answer that. So, I think obviously keep growing the Circular Economy Club as I can, and try to give it as much visibility as possible. But then also, as I mentioned, I do have like a day job too, so obviously progress in that as I can. And actually I've had conversations internally in the company to see how we can establish circular economy within Capgemini. So it's slowly creating that awareness. But yeah, I think I actually have done so much over the past 2 years that I've kind of just trying to take it a bit slower now and not overwhelm myself and burn myself out, because I think that's also something that's very important, is to know how to pace yourself, which I initially during university and after university didn't know how to do. I just wanted to be involved in everything. So I think I think in a way just kind of keep doing what I'm doing, because I think it is I think it's getting a lot of visibility, and I've been invited to some really great events to speak at, like the UN and the Alumni Author Foundation, and my dissertation got published in a book, which I thought was a really great step. So just kind of keep being interested in what I'm interested in, but not overdoing it is almost the next for me, because it is actually very hard to learn how to do that.
Absolutely right, and looking after yourself is actually one of the biggest life lessons, I think. So that's great to hear. And I was going to ask you what your greatest achievement since school was going to be, but you just listed off 3 like they were nothing. So I won't ask that.
Or after school?
No, post school.
But, I guess I think getting into my master's was maybe one of the best achievements too, because it's actually one of the best, actually it is the best in the world for that course.
Wow.
So that was great. And I think that just really kind of gave me that confidence to then do other bits, like what I mentioned with my dissertation. It was actually on informal sector and circular economy. And as I mentioned before, that I think Vietnam has really shaped that curiosity for me. So there was that, I guess, becoming a member of the board for Circular Economy Club, and having the opportunity to speak at those events. But then even, I don't know, just things like, I don't know, going to work and coming home and being able to have dinner and my laundry is also sometimes in of itself. So sometimes it's just the small things like that I'm like, I've done well today. So,
part of your well-being is to celebrate the small wins, isn't it? So one last thing then before I go, because we've got 2 minutes left. One last thing. Have you got any words of wisdom for those students who are currently going through their mocks, and will soon be going through the real thing when we're talking IG and IB?
I think, I don't know. I mean, if I could speak to my previous self, would be to not to stress out too much. Try to do your best, because at the end of the day, that's what, you know, that's as much as you can do. Enjoy it too, because, you know, school is very different to the real world. So enjoy, you know, the time with your friends and being at home. But I think also just try to find something that you're passionate in, because that will drive whatever external factors you need around you to be driven. So just find something that you're passionate in, and I think everything else will just kind of fall into place.
Excellent words.
But that was enough.
Do you know what? I'm going to take that one. I think that's
okay.
That's a really great life lesson. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, for example, with everything with this circular economy and the Circular Economy Club, a lot of my friends are like, oh, don't you like get tired of it? And it's, I mean, sometimes there are moments where I'm like, oh, I'm just very tired, but it's because I enjoy it, that I don't really find it as like a job. So
I can relate.
Finding your passion.
Yeah, absolutely right. Patricia, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thank you very much too for reaching out.
Take care and enjoy the rest of your Saturday.